This is Christopher John Bjerknes. It is July 5th, 2024. This is going to be a good one. What a wonderful topic. Nephilim Kabbalah. There's going to be bursting bubbles and heads exploding all over the world when I release this one, because I'm going to give my unique novel insights into a topic that is widely discussed by many people on the internet, with a lot of solid information and with a lot of disinformation. And if there's time, I'll get into this psyop about the Jews supposedly being the Nephilim, and why it's being perpetrated on people, and the fact that it's actually what Judaism teaches. So they're tricking the gullible goyim into believing their most secret Kabbalistic beliefs, which they believe energizes those beliefs and makes them real, so that when the Gentiles believe that they are Nephilim, it makes them this hybrid super race that can exterminate the Gentiles. And that's why there's this psyop trying to trick the Gentiles into becoming Kabbalists themselves, and creating this egregore. This mythology becomes real in their mind when people start to believe it. So I'm going to be covering three primary things. Like I said, I'm going to be talking about the Nephilim and who they are. I'm going to be talking about the Bene Elohim, which is variously translated as sons of the gods, but also as sons of the judges. And even that differentiates into the 70 judges in the heavenly court, who are the 70 princes of the nations, and who judge before God when the adversary, the prosecutor, the tempter, the punisher, Ha-Satan, Samael, puts the Israelites on trial on Yom Kippur and transfers all their sins to the Gentiles. And many of the people pushing this Jewish mythology that modern day Jews are the Nephilim, which is exactly what the Kabbalists believe, also push the mythology that Gentiles are Israelites, and in that way they convert Gentiles into this scapegoat who their supposed father, Samael, falsely accuses of all the sins of the real Israelites. So it fits right in with their scheme to convert the Gentiles into this scapegoat of the false Israelites, who voluntarily take on all the sins, and with all the sins, all of the punishments of the Israelites, which are meted out to them in the heavenly court before these judges, who are the sons of the gods being El and Asherah, and the 70 sons, including Baal, and all of the others who are the princes of the 70 Gentile nations in this heavenly court. And so we got the Nephilim, the Bene Elohim, and we also have something called the Anakim of Anak. These are the giants. And I'm going to be shattering a lot of delusions. Abraham is said in the Talmud, in Tractate Sopharim 21:9, to be a giant, an Anak, one of the Anakim. So when these guys who run this psyop, most of them are grifters, when they tell you that modern day Jews are shrunken down giants of the Anakim, what they are doing is tricking you into believing what the Talmud teaches. They are converting you into Noahide slaves. The Noahide law says that Gentiles cannot question the rabbis, the sages, the chazal, and if they do, they will boil in excrement like Jesus Christ, for doubting the sages, and boiling in semen even in this bizarre beliefs. So what these guys are doing who pretend to oppose all this is tricking people into believing it. And again, the Kabbalists and the Talmudists think that once the Gentiles really start to believe all this, it will become completely true and reality, because reality as above, so below is a projection of what the conscious collective minds of humanity think reality is. And it's nothing other than that. So by tricking Gentiles into believing that they are the scapegoats, the fake Israelis, who are eaten by Satan on Yom Kippur and punished for all the sins of Israel as Israel's scapegoat. They're tricking you into becoming that. And they are tricking you into believing that the Jews are this superior hybrid race of Nephilim. And they are also tricking you into accepting this Talmudic belief that Jews descended from Abraham are Anakim, are giants, and that through the thousands of years and the multiple generations, these giants have shrunken down into modern day Jews. And they believe that they trick people into believing that this is a degradation to say this about modern Jewish people, when in fact it is elevating them to the status of these hybrid supermen on the face of the earth. And I'm going to show you all the proof of that. I know there's a lot of doubters out there, but when this is done, you're going to understand exactly what I'm saying and why I find it so hilarious that people are so gullible, one, to give any credence to any of this mythology about these characters who are make-believe and never actually existed, and this crazy notion that there were giants walking around or that there were fallen angels. And that's what's really going to freak people out, is this has nothing to do with, in terms of the Nephilim, this has nothing to do with this idea of fallen angels. The Kabbalist Shimon Bar Yochai said that if you define Bene Elohim in the context of Genesis chapter 6, verses 1 through 5, any Jew that does that is cursed and must be excommunicated, because that is a heretical belief. In fact, those passages have to be interpreted, as is sometimes done, that the sons of the Elohim are the sons of the judges. And in this context, they are not the judges in heaven, not the 70 children of El and Asherah, but instead are the judges of Israel, who led the Israelites before they adopted kingship. So let's look at some of the proof so that I don't lose you before we get to the facts, the demonstrable facts. So this is from the minor tractate in the Babylonian Talmud, Sopharim 20, I guess you'd say paragraph 9. Let me step out of the way. The greatest man among the Anakim. The Anakim are these giants like Goliath, the Philistine, like Og, the Amorite king of Bashan, but also among the Anakim refers to our father Abraham, whose height was equal to that of 74 men. His eating and drinking were of a similar proportion, equal to those of 74 men. So too was his strength. He would actually have to eat more than 74 men. The rabbis weren't too bright, and they didn't realize that his proportions didn't simply expand in terms of height, they expanded in terms of width and depth. He was a three-dimensional being, not a one-dimensional being, but the rabbis weren't too bright. So it goes on, and then it goes on to talk about Og, the Amorite king of Bashan, but we'll get to that later. So I just wanted to convince you that when people are telling you that modern Jewish people are Anakim, that's what the Jews themselves believe, and that's what they want you to believe, because that converts them into giants, and they see that as a massive stature, as a hybrid race that has the ability to exterminate all other races. So these people are using people's hatred of Jews against them, just as Moses used the hatred of the Egyptians against them to lead them into the parted Red Sea, which then collapsed on them and killed them. These charlatans on the internet are leading you into the Red Sea, the Sea of Edom, the Sea of blood, to kill you, to set you up, to become their scapegoats, to become their victims, and to elevate them to the status of giants, because through your belief, you make your belief into reality. So Jesus is a descendant of Abraham, so he is Anak, he's a giant, he's one of the Anakim, but he's also Nephilim. He is a descendant of this hybrid race of the descendants of Seth and the descendants of Cain. The male descendants of Seth are the great men of Israel, and they often take on the wives who are the descendants of Cain. Those are the daughters spoken of, the daughters of men spoken of in Genesis 6:1-5 are descendants, the female descendants of Cain. And the most beautiful among those are ripe for the picking by the descendants of Seth, who are the Jews, and specifically the elite among the Jews who take on these Gentile descendant wives of Cain so that they can form hybrid children. And these hybrid children are the Nephilim, and they are the greatest of men. They are the greatest leaders. They are the greatest warriors. And they can worm their way into the Gentile world to destroy the Gentile world from within. And they can also simply lead the Israelites, the modern Jews, to defeat the Gentiles, because they are this superior hybrid race that has both sides working for it. It has the side of the Sitra Achraf through its female lineage, and it has the side of the Sitra Yamina, the holy side, and the evil other side, the right-hand side, and the evil left-hand side working in its favor through these hybrid Nephilim. And the most famous of these hybrid Nephilim is Jesus Christ. And in Matthew chapter 1, the very first verses of the Gospels prove this mythology, it's considered real, but it's all complete mythology. The genealogy of Jesus, the Messiah. Chapter 1 of Matthew. Matthew's the first book of the New Testament. Verse 3, Judah, who established the Judahites, the Jews, the father of Peretz and Zerah, another messianic twins couple like Esau and Jacob, whose mother was Tamar. Now, this is disputed by some, but the majority opinion is that Tamar was a Canaanite, and the Canaanites have the blood of the Anakim. Peretz, the father of Hezron. So these are the ancestors of Jesus Christ. So he has Gentile blood, probably Canaanite blood, which would include not only the blood of Abraham as an Anakim, but the Canaanite blood of the Anakim. And there's another one. Solomon, the father of Boaz, whose mother was Rahab. Boaz, the father of Oded, whose mother was Ruth. These are Gentiles, and Rahab, it is widely acknowledged, was a Canaanite. And the worst of the Canaanites, Rahab, is the serpent, the Leviathan. That's what Rahab means. So I hope you're starting to get the picture. All of this, which is presented as if an attack against modern Jewish people, is elevating them to the status of Jesus Christ, elevating them to the status of the greatest men on earth, promoting their own mythology that they are this super hybrid race. That's what they want you to believe. That's why they have their agents and assets duping people in the hundreds of thousands to believe in all of this absolute pure mythology, because they believe once they believe in that, they are voluntarily becoming scapegoats for the sins of Israel. And they are voluntarily elevating Jewish people to this Ubermensch status of the super race of the Nephilim. And they present this as if it's bad for Jewish people because they want to inflict harm on Jewish people, supposedly. But what they're doing is they're leading the Egyptians into the Red Sea to kill them off. Let's get into who the Bene Elohim are in Genesis chapter 6, verses 1 to 5. I'll show you what this gentleman gives the standard view on YouTube presentation. His name is Lex Meyer. His YouTube channel is Unlearn the Lies. And let's listen to what Mr. Meyer has to say. I think he gives a good introduction into the various views, the views of the people who promote what Enoch wrote, which Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, the guy that said the best of the Gentiles should be killed, the guy who supposedly wrote the Zohar, the guy that equated Gentiles to cattle in the Talmud, said that the view of Enoch, that these are fallen angels, is a heresy, and any Jew that says that is to be cursed and excommunicated.
Now it came to pass, when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and the daughters were born to them, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were beautiful, and they took wives for themselves, all of whom they chose. There are basically three theories about who the sons of God are. The first theory is that the sons of God refers to the sons of Seth, which are human descendants of Adam through Seth. And they say the daughters of men are the daughters of the pagan nations. This theory was held by people such as Origen and Augustine of Hippo. The second theory is that the sons of God are angels. This theory appears in earlier records found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. It was also mentioned by the Jewish historian Josephus. A third theory is that the sons of God are the defiled kings of various Canaanite cities. This theory is held by a variety of people in the scholarly community. However, I want to set aside all of
Let's listen to this again, because it's very important to understand what he's saying, that there are these different classical perspectives on what this very important part of Genesis means.
Men. Now it came to pass, when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and the daughters were born to them, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were beautiful, and they took wives for themselves, all of whom they chose. There are basically three theories about who the sons of God are. The first theory is that the sons of God refers to the sons of Seth, which are human descendants of Adam through Seth. And they say the daughters of men are the daughters of the pagan nations. This theory was held by people such as Origen and Augustine of Hippo. The second theory is that the sons of God are angels. This theory appears in earlier records found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. It was also mentioned by the Jewish historian Josephus. A third theory is that the sons of God are the defiled kings of various Canaanite cities. This theory is held by a variety of people in the scholarly community. However, I want to set aside all of these theories.
So those three theories, the early Christian church fathers rejected the apocryphal book of Enoch, and they said that the Bene Elohim, the sons of gods, as it's translated in most translations, were instead the descendants of Seth, who are the Jews in Jewish mythology, and the descendants, the daughters of man, are the descendants of Cain, who are specifically the Edomites, but in general, all Gentiles. Now, this is very different from what gets promoted mostly on the internet, which relies upon the older belief, maybe an older belief, but it's a written tradition in Enoch that these Bene Elohim are fallen angels. But the oral tradition adopted in the Midrash and attributed to Shimon Bar Yochai agrees with these Christian church fathers who said that the Bene Elohim are the descendants of Seth, in other words, the Jews, and the daughters of man are the beautiful women that these Jews seduce and take as their right, as the right of the kings to first night, and as the right of the kings of Israel to sleep with any Gentile woman they want, and the right of any of the Jewish elite and any Jew to take the Gentile women as a slave and to bed with her. Those are the descendants of Cain, and that is what is being described in Genesis, which produces as offspring this hybrid race of Nephilim, like Jesus Christ, the Nephilite. Maybe I'm coining a word there. So the second one he discussed was this Enochian Dead Sea Scroll view that these are fallen angels, which is irrelevant essentially to our discussion. And then there is this third view that was also put forward by Christians, that these Bene Elohim, translated as sons of gods when it really means sons of judges, is these Canaanite kings who could do that. They could take any woman that they wanted, and they had the right of first night. That's probably where this concept of right of first night of the kings came from, that they could select any woman, and because they were a king, they could sleep with her and produce offspring. So Shimon Bar Yochai adopted, or perhaps originated, the early Christian view that the Bene Elohim are descendants of Seth, the Jews, and combined it with that other Christian view that they were Canaanite kings, but turned that around and said that they were the Israelite leaders, the judges, and that the Israelites would breed with these Gentile women. And in this way, they would get the soul of chaos, they would get the soul of Esau, and they would produce these Ubermensch offspring, which were big, strong, powerful, intellectual, clever, and could worm their way into Gentile society because they would know from their mothers about the Gentile gods. They would know from their mothers about Gentile ways, and they would speak and present themselves as if they were Gentiles, much in the same way that Esther did, but this is the male version of the crypto-Jew story of Esther, and this is the great leaders. And David took on a Gentile wife, Bathsheba, to produce the son Solomon. And you saw how Jesus is descended from these Nephilim, this interbreeding of the great men of Israel with the most beautiful women who are descendants of Cain, of the Gentiles. And it produces this hybrid race. So this was always meant to be a subversive means of destroying the Gentiles. And we have these charlatans presenting it as if you believe in this, you're somehow fighting back against all of this, when instead you are, in fact, embracing it and giving it power and believing in it and submitting yourself to it and destroying not only yourself, but all other Gentiles as you empower Jewish people. And this is in their beliefs, not in my belief. I think it's all a bunch of pathetic mythological nonsense. I just want to give people a heads up, blow some minds. So this is what he read. Let's go over it again. Genesis chapter 6, verses 1 to 4, increasing corruption on earth. This finishes up with God saying that God regrets man and wants to destroy the earth, and then there's the flood. When man began to multiply on the face of the land, and daughters were born to them, the sons of God, which I'm going to prove to you, Shimon Bar Yochai translates as the sons of the judges, and he means by that not the judges in the heavenly court, but the judges of the Israelites. saw that the daughters of man, these are the descendants of Cain, the most beautiful Gentile women, were attractive. These Bene Elohim are the descendants of Seth, the Jews, and not fallen angels, as Enoch said, and as is universally presented on the web. And they took as their wives any they chose. Then the Lord said, My spirit shall not abide in man forever, for he is flesh, and his days shall be 120 years. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of man came in to the daughters of man, and they bore children to them. So this is the Bene Elohim, the descendants of Seth, the Jews, producing Nephilim offspring through the daughters of man, the descendants of Cain, the Gentiles, the most beautiful of the Gentile women. These were the mighty men who were of old, the men of renown, the judges, the great men of the Israelites were this supposed super race, Ubermensch, hybrid race of the greatest men of Israel, of Seth, interbreeding with the most beautiful females of the descendants of Cain, the Gentiles. So all this crap about the fallen angels is simply bait to lure you into this Kabbalistic belief that ultimately produces your complete extermination. And it's often presented as if it were fighting against that agenda when it's luring you into the Red Sea to kill you off. And one of the most famous Bible verses that they present to justify this belief that the descendants of Seth are the sons of the gods is Deuteronomy 14:1. Ye are the children of the Lord your God. That refers only to the Israelites. Ye shall not cut yourselves, nor make any baldness between your eyes for the dead. So they are referring to themselves directly as God's children, as sons of the gods. Now let's talk about the Anakim. And you'll recall that I proved to you that the Talmud states that Abraham was one of the Anakim. And therefore, Jewish people are supposedly in Jewish mythology these giants that shrank, just as these charlatans will tell you, across the generations down into modern Jews. But this relates also to the war that's going on in Gaza, because Gaza represents Philistia, the land of the Philistines, and Palestinian means Philistine. It's simply an Anglicization of the word Philistine is Palestinian. And the Gaza Strip is Philistia. And David fought against Goliath, the Philistine giant, the Anakim. And Samson had Philistine wives. He's a representative of this combination of the Bene Elohim, the descendants of Seth, marrying the most beautiful women like Delilah and his first wife, Samson's first wife, of the Philistines, the descendants of Cain, the daughters of man. So Joshua 11:22, there was none of the Anakim left in the land of the people of Israel, only in Gaza. Gaza has these Philistine giants, the Anakim, like Abraham and like Og. In Gath and in Ashdod did some remain. This is Philistia. Gaza is Philistia. Palestinians are Philistines. So this is a battle of the two great giants, the Anakim Philistines versus the Anakim Jews, descendants of Abraham. Numbers chapter 13 talks about how Moses sent spies into the land of Palestine to spy it out and see who was there. And the spies, 10 of them, reported back that they saw the children of Anak, the giants. So this is again the Israelite, Abrahamite Anakim versus the Philistine, the Amorite Anakim in this battle for the Holy Land, where the Canaanites dwell by the sea and where the Philistines dwelt in Philistia, which is now Gaza. And there we saw the giants, the sons of Anak, which come of the giants. And we were in our own sight as grasshoppers, and so we were in their sight. Remember, it said that Abraham was as tall as 74 men. So this is all... This all relates to many things, but it also relates to this asinine, absurd belief that this is the battle of the Anakim for who will control the Holy Land of Palestine and the killing, slaughtering 2 million helpless people in Gaza based on this Jewish myth. And it makes me want to vomit every time I think about the fact that the United States is sponsoring this mayhem and mass slaughter and genocide by providing weapons to these people who believe in this garbage. The war with the Philistines. We have Goliath, the Gittite. Philistines are giants. They're Anakim, just like the Israelites supposedly are through Abraham, and you could include the Ishmaelites in that too. They are the behemoth. Behemoth is a giant monster. In the Septuagint, Brenton's Septuagint translation of Jeremiah 5, it talks about how they mourn in Gaza because the Anakim have been killed off. Baldness is come upon Gaza. That's what we're seeing today. Ashkelon is cast away, and the remnant of the Anakim. This is about the battle of the giants, and the Jewish giants are killing off the Philistine giants. And it's a mass slaughter of civilian people with no armaments, no weaponry, being starved to death, being genocided, being exterminated by these monsters. And it's being done with weapons provided by the United States because our government has been subverted by these people. So let's dig more deeply into what it was that Shimon Bar Yochai, the supposed author of the Zohar, who said that the best among the Gentiles must be killed, which means all Gentiles must be killed. Even the best is what he said. This is from Ibn Ezra on Genesis 2:1. Others say that the sons of God refers to the children of Seth. That's the descendants of Seth, in other words, in their view, the Jews. And that the daughters of man refers to women of Cain's family. That's the serpent seed line. This is the holy Israelite seed line. This is the serpent seed line of the Gentiles. Cain was produced through the coupling of the serpent with Eve to produce Cain. So when these charlatans tell you that Jews are Nephilim, they're getting you to believe this mythology, which Jewish Kabbalists themselves want you to believe. The Jewish Encyclopedia talks about children of God, Bene, Elohim, persons, sons of the gods, which can also be interpreted as sons of the judges or sons of the magistrates. The sons of God are mentioned in Genesis in chapter 6, verse 2. The Israelites are addressed as the children of the Lord your God. So these Bene Elohim are the Israelites, the descendants of Seth. Deuteronomy 14:1. When Israel was young, he was called from Egypt, Israel Jacob, to be God's son, Hosea, chapter 11, verse 1. The Israelites are designated also the children of the living God. In other words, the Bene Elohim, under that definition, as the sons of God. So they meet both definitions. Isaiah also apostrophizes the Israelites as children of God that are corrupters, though God has reared them. Isaiah chapter 1, verse 4. As a man chastises his son, so does God chastise Israel, because Israel, the descendants of Seth, are the Bene Elohim, the sons of God under that definition. Sages demonstrate, surely they are my people, children that will not lie. Isaiah 43:8. In all their afflictions, he was afflicted. Isaiah 43:9. Again, identifying the Israelites as the Bene Elohim. This is not talking about fallen angels. This is talking about Jewish people. Israel, as the descendants of Jacob, as the first fruits, is the Bekor, or firstborn, in the household of God's children, citing Jeremiah chapter 2, verse 3, Exodus chapter 4, verse 22. This is from the Jewish Encyclopedia in its article, God, Children of God, Bene Elohim. The oldest mention that I could find attributing this to Shimon Bar Yochai, the guy that said that the best of the Gentiles deserves to be killed, must be killed. All Gentiles must be killed. All Gentiles are beasts and cattle. Only Jews are men, are Adam. And this guy is revered by the Kabbalists for that very reason, for defining and setting the standard for the war of extermination upon the Gentiles. And the source that is most often cited in my research for this is the Midrash Rabbah on Genesis. And it is 26:5. And let's read that. Again, this is Midrash Genesis Rabbah. Bereshit is Genesis 26. And we're going to be reading 5. And then 6 goes on to reaffirm and expand upon this. That the sons of God, Bene Elohim, saw the daughters of men, the descendants of Cain. Genesis chapter 6, verse 2. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai called them the sons of nobles, or the sons of judges. Furthermore, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai cursed all who called them the sons of God. So this idea that the Elohim are fallen angels or are the judges, the 70 judges in the heavenly court, gets you excommunicated and cursed among Kabbalists. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai said, if demoralization does not proceed from the leaders, it is not real demoralization. And that's because they control what the people believe. This has a pretty good explanation, like that video clip I showed you in the beginning. It gives the 3 views on who the Bene Elohim are. It's History of the Old Covenant by Kurtz, Volume 1. I guess this is an English translation. And the section I'm discussing starts off, the following three are the leading views about the Bene Elohim. One, that they are represented as fili magnatum puellas plebeias rapientis. They are supposed to have been angels. That's the Enochian view, which will get you cursed and excommunicated among Kabbalists. And three, pious persons, the descendants of Seth. Well, the daughters of men are supposed to be the descendants of Cain. That's the Kabbalistic view, and it couples with this idea that they are the great men who can have sex with any women that they want, which was a Christian view. So the Kabbalists either adopted or inspired these two Christian views, that they were Gentile kings and that they were the descendants of Seth who could have sex with any of the descendants of Cain, being the Gentiles that they so chose, and that would produce this master race of Nephilim. The second view is that most generally entertained by both the ancient synagogue and church. That's the view of the fallen angels, which gets promoted on the internet. Well, in fact, the people in charge of the world believe what I'm describing. And it was also opposed in the synagogue. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai excommunicated all who held this view being the second view of Enoch. They are supposed to have been angels. So the real rabbis, the ones in the know, believe in what I'm describing and not what the internet is telling you. This is a very authoritative book, the Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer. I'm one of the few people who ever discusses this book. This has a lot about Samael, about the scapegoat, about what all that ritual really means. And it then gets really clarified in the Zohar. And I've got some good stuff for you guys coming up real soon. I've been delayed, and I'm about to get to it, and it's going to blow your minds. So we have this chapter on the fall of the angels, which is that old synagogue belief that the Bene Elohim represents the fall of the angels. Adam did not beget in his own image until Seth was born. That's because Cain was the child of the devil, the serpent in the tree of the Garden of Eden, who slept with Adam's female aspect, Eve, to produce Cain, and injected the serpent seed line, which is cursed in Genesis chapter 3, verses 14 and 15. So the first one that's actually like Adam is Seth, and the Jews claim themselves as being the descendants of Seth and representing the male Bene Elohim, who then breeds to produce a hybrid race with the daughters of Cain, who are the most beautiful women among the Gentiles. From Seth arose and were descended all the generations of the righteous. Only the Israelites, the Jews, are the righteous. From Cain arose and were descended all the generations of the wicked who rebel and sin, who rebelled against their rock. And they said, we do not need the drops of thy rain, neither to walk in thy ways, etc., etc. And then this section on the fall of the angels in Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer goes on to say the Nephilim were on the earth in those days, quoting Genesis 6, verse 4. Rabbi Yeshua said, the Israelites are called sons of God, as it is said, ye are the sons of the Lord your God. Ye being the Israelites, being the sons of God, the Bene Elohim, meaning Jews are the Bene Elohim, the descendants of Seth. And I'm hesitating because I recall that this also discussed Rabbi Shimon, and I guess I didn't clip that in that. Maybe we'll get to that in another video where he talks about this. But I have enough from other sources to cover this. The Bene Elohim, the sons of princes and rulers, the elites among the Jews who can choose any Gentile woman that they want to enslave, to rape, to marry, and to produce this hybrid race of Nephilim. This is from Ramban on Genesis 6:2-1. Here we have an article from Professor Rabbi Rachel Edelman reintroducing the myth of the fallen angels into Judaism. Here is the URL. Expanding the polemic in the Rabbinic period. The rabbis of late antiquity took this polemic further and overtly condemned the idea that the Bene Elohim were angels at all. The real rabbis, the rabbis in the know, the Zoharites, the Shabbatayans, the Chabadniks, Natura Karta, the Perushim, who follow the Gaon of Vilna, the Satmar Jews, who follow Rabbi Joel Teitelbaum. All of those guys, the ones in real power, the bankers, they reject the view of Enoch that the Bene Elohim were angels. They were instead the Jews, which is what all these charlatans are convincing you of in the name of opposing all of these people I just described, so that they set you up in a trap the same way the Egyptians were set up in the Exodus to be killed off by following the Jews and hating the Jews. It caused their own extermination. And that's what they're setting everyone up for with these clowns on the internet. Instead, some rabbis suggest reading Elohim as judges or lords. Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai called them the sons of nobles and declared, "Cursed be anyone who calls them angels." So they want you calling the Jews Nephilim, because everyone is cursed who doesn't call Jews Nephilim. Do you see how this works? You see how this controlled opposition is tricking you into believing in the mythology of Judaism in the name of fighting it. They are setting you up as stupid, gullible suckers. The Midrash goes on to depict the cohabitation of these men with the daughters of Adam in terms of the practice of the rite of first night, otherwise known as droit du Seigneur, or jus primae noctis, the rite of first night, an opinion attributed to Rabbi Yudan. So I think that completes my slides. Let me summarize this one more time. There are charlatans, grifters on the internet trying to convince people that Europeans are Israelites, which makes them the fake Israelites. In other words, the scapegoats for the sin of Israel, to be punished like the suffering Messiah who has the blood of the Gentiles, is punished for all the sins of Israel. They are setting you up to pretend that you are Israelites. So in the heavenly court, when the Israelites are accused, it's you who get the punishment and you who are damned to hell and killed off in their place. It's the Palestinians who get punished for what the Israelis do. It's the United States that gets blamed for the bombing of the Palestinians because it has been subverted by these people to provide those bombs. And the Christian evangelicals have been subverted to support all of this genocide. This is how these people work. This is how they worked in the book of Esther. And I am the first one in the world to reveal the fact that there is a male equivalent of the story of Esther, and it's even older, and it's in Genesis chapter 6, verses 1 to 4, where it talks about the Bene Elohim, who are the male descendants of Seth, who are the male equivalents of Esther, who take on Canaanite or Gentile or the descendants of Cain wives so that they can worm their way into Gentile society, present themselves as Gentiles to undermine the Gentiles and destroy them, and also to become the kings and the leaders, the Ubermensch race of the Israelites, the Nephilim, who have the power and the might and the intellectual abilities, superior abilities, physical and intellectual superior abilities, to lead the Israelites to victory, ultimate victory over the Gentiles, to exterminate them. And that is what Nephilim Kabbalah is all about. It's not about the mythologies of the fallen angels and the Anunnaki of the Babylonians and the gods marrying the daughters of men. It's about the Jews marrying the daughters of Cain, the Gentiles, to produce a hybrid master race. And they are tricking you into believing that the Jews are descended from the giants, which is the Jewish myth that Abraham was an Anakim. And they are tricking you into accepting the idea that the Jews are this master hybrid race of the descendants of Seth and Cain. So don't take the bait. Don't believe any of these mythologies. And don't follow these clowns on the internet who are a bunch of grifters who are trying to convince you the Talmudic belief that the earth is flat, the ridiculous belief which scapegoats you for Israel's sins, that Europeans were Israelites. The ancient Europeans never claimed to be Israelites. The ancient Europeans found the Israelites reprehensible as the greatest historians and men of the European ancient world said, as the ancient Egyptians viewed the Israelites in a very, very negative light and would strongly resent the idea that their descendants are pretending to be Israelites so that they can become scapegoats for the sins of Israel. And we see the scapegoating going on. We see the Palestinian Anakim being scapegoated for the aggression of the Anakim giant, the Samson, the David, Netanyahu Anakim, slaughtering the Philistines in Philistia, the Palestinians in Gaza. This whole plan is based on all of this mythology, and I am the only person in the whole world who understands it and is explaining it. There are a couple of psychopaths who rip off my work and grift off of it. I'm doing this, presenting this to all of you wonderful people for free, and I would be tremendously grateful if some of you would join with those who are donating and contributing and keeping me going. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. I really need your support, and I will be tremendously grateful to anyone who visits my website, CJBBooks.com. There are contribution links there where you can help me to keep getting this information out. Like, share, and subscribe. I got the best is yet to come. I have put this together on a whole new level. It's incredible how it all fits. And it's exactly what I've been saying for 25, 30 years in public, what I've been researching all my life. I have now really ratcheted it up to a new level, and I'm going to hit you guys with that in hopefully in a couple days. So look forward to that. And please, if you can, give me a contribution at CJBBooks.com to keep me going on this. I'm fighting the whole world, and I'm winning, and I'm getting attacked from all sides. So I also want to thank all the people who retweet and repost and link to my work and let other people know about it, and let other people know about these grifters who are ripping off my work, and directing people to the real source, because I understand it and they don't. And they also deliberately corrupt my message to create all kinds of infighting. They want this war against the Christians. This should not be a war against Christians. This should be a war against the people who are subverting Christians. And look forward to what I got coming. It's the best yet. The best is yet to come. It's going to enable you to understand exactly what's going on and how it was all engineered. And I look forward to that, and I'll see you then. Bye for now. Bye for now, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you to all the people who have helped me. I deeply appreciate it.